Have you ever stopped and wondered what is actually going on inside the mind of an AI? I mean, really, what's happening in there? We use these things every single day, but how they represent knowledge, how they think, it's still pretty much a black box. Well, today, we're going to pry that box open. We're going on a hunt for the fundamental building blocks of AI thought, something researchers have started calling atoms. Let's dive in.
You know, it's kind of wild. More than 2,000 years ago, the Greek philosopher Democritus had this big idea. He figured if you just keep cutting something in half over and over again, you'll eventually hit a point where you can't cut it anymore. An indivisible unit, an atom. And now that ancient idea has become the perfect way to think about one of the most futuristic problems we have in artificial intelligence.
And that really is the heart of the mystery, isn't it? When an LLM thinks about, say, a golden retriever, is that idea built out of smaller, more basic concepts? You know, things like dog, golden fur, friendly, loves to fetch. Are there these tiny, fundamental, indivisible units of meaning tucked away inside its massive network? And maybe the most important question of all, can we actually find them?
So to even begin looking for these atoms, researchers had to face a pretty big hurdle. The tools they were using just weren't cutting it. Let's take a look at the current, kind of blurry ways we've been trying to peek inside these incredibly complex systems.
Yeah, before we can appreciate the solution, we really have to get our heads around the problem. For a long time, trying to interpret what an LLM is doing has been like trying to untangle a giant knotted-up ball of yarn in the dark. We tried focusing on individual neurons or looking at broader features, but honestly, both methods just give us this fuzzy, incomplete picture. We know the information is in there somewhere, but we've been struggling to see it clearly.
Okay, so this slide breaks it all down. On one hand, you have the neuron approach, looking at the individual switches in the AI's brain. The problem? Something called polysemy. It's a fancy word, but it just means that a single neuron can get totally confused and represent completely unrelated ideas. Like one neuron might fire for the Eiffel Tower and also for the color blue. It's a mess. So then we tried looking at features, which are more like general concepts. But those are unstable. They can split apart, merge together, and you never really get the full picture.
All right, so this is where everything changes. This is the breakthrough. Realizing the old tools were just fundamentally flawed, a group of researchers developed a totally new way of looking at the problem, a new theory for finding the real, fundamental units of meaning, and they call it the theory of atoms.
So what exactly is an atom inside an AI's mind? Well, according to this new theory, it's a basic unit of meaning that has two really important properties. First, it's orthogonal, which is just a mathy way of saying it's clean and distinct. It doesn't overlap with other atoms. Think of it like a primary color. Red is just red. It's not a little bit of blue and a little bit of yellow. And second, they combine sparsely. This means you only need a few atoms to build up a really complex idea, which makes the whole system unbelievably efficient.
And here's the kicker. This theory of atoms promises to solve the exact problems that made our old methods so useless. With atoms, there's no more confusion, no more polysemia. Each atom has one unique job, period. Using them, we can apparently reconstruct the AI's internal state with mind-blowing accuracy. And maybe the best part, researchers think they've actually found a reliable way to hunt them down.
The secret sauce here, the thing that makes it all work, is a new mathematical tool. And the best way I can describe it is like this. Imagine the AI's inner thoughts are a blurry, distorted 3D movie. Our old tools were like watching that movie without the special glasses. It's just a confusing, overlapping mess. This new tool, the atomic inner product, is like finally putting on the perfect pair of 3D glasses. And suddenly, boom, the hidden structure of the AI's thoughts just snaps into perfect, crystal clear focus.
Of course, a brilliant theory is just a theory until you can prove it. So the researchers set out to see if these atoms actually exist and if they behave the way the theory predicts inside real working AI models. Let's get to the evidence.
So, to go on this atom hunt, the team used a special kind of tool called a sparse autoencoder. Think of it as a superpowered filter designed to find the simplest, most efficient parts of a really complex signal. They aimed this thing right at the brains of some of the most popular models out there, like Google's Gemma and Meta's Llama, to see if they could actually break down the AI's complex thoughts into these simple atomic units.
And the results were, well, they were staggering. Just look at this chart. It shows how well they could rebuild the AI's internal thought process. Using the old feature method, they could get kind of close, maybe about 80% of the way there, but with atoms, they hit 99.9% accuracy. That's not just a little better, that's a whole different ballgame. It means we can now see the entire picture almost perfectly.
But hang on.
Because here's the number that I think truly seals the deal. 99.8%. That is the percentage of the atoms they found that were truly unique and stable, every single one with one and only one clear meaning.
And this table just puts that number in stark relief. Atoms hit that uniqueness score of 99.8%. The previous best method, features, only got to about 68%. And neurons, the original brain cells, a laughable 0.5%. This is not an incremental improvement. This suggests that atoms really are the true, stable, fundamental building blocks of AI thought we've been searching for all along.
Okay, so this is all incredibly cool from a scientific standpoint. We can find these atoms with amazing precision. But what does this actually mean for you and me? Why does finding the fundamental units of AI thought matter so much?
Well, this discovery is basically the bedrock for a whole new field called mechanistic interpretability. For decades, AIs have been these mysterious black boxes. We know what goes in, we know what comes out, but we have no real idea how they get from A to B. Finding these atoms is like an engineer finally finding the detailed schematic for a complex machine. We can finally pop the hood and trace the circuits of reasoning.
And that understanding gives us a clear, practical path toward much safer AI. Step 1. You identify the atoms. Step 2. You figure out how those atoms combine into circuits to do things. And step 3. That's the real prize. With that deep, granular understanding, we can finally build better, safer AI. We can debug them when they go wrong, we can steer them away from dangerous behaviors, and we can actually truly align them with human values. This is how we go from just using AI to actually understanding it.
So this research really brings us to an incredible new frontier. Because if we can now read the atoms of an AI's thoughts, the next logical question is, can we write them? Can we go in and edit an AI's knowledge at the most fundamental level possible? It's a huge leap in our ability to control and build AI, but it also opens up some profound new questions about what it even means to understand a non-human mind. Thanks so much for joining me.